So my dear students, we just started speaking about communication. We just told about communication, definition of communication, the etymological birth of the word communication. Then we just told about different elements of communication such as center, message or signal, medium or channel, and the receiver. Then we just started talking about the effectiveness of communication, the factors which influence the effectiveness of communication, the factors, the features, the elements, the characteristics which can make your communication. And we just told about the communication skill of the center. Then we told that he should be able to speak. Actually, communication is not only speaking, so his writing skill is also important. So his speaking skill and writing skill is important. His creativity is important if it is a written communication. So actually, we especially give some concentration on spoken communication when talking about the effectiveness of communication, because there you can see the personal contact, the face-to-face contact. So the speaking skill is important, then the pace of communication, the speed of communication, that is important. Then selection of words are important. Then voice modulation should be there. And such things we told there. Something related to the center. The center should get all these qualities to make the communication process more effective. Now, we may move to another aspect. Just wait there, I will be presenting the PowerPoint. I think now you're able to show you, see, yeah, the PowerPoint, yes. Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
Yes, I will check. Yes, sorry, I'm sorry. Now it's okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, well.
Yes, sir.
So we talked about the speaking skill, pace of transaction, selection of words, psychological knowledge, voice modulation, body language, and gestures of the center or the communicator. Now the second one is related to the element called channel or medium. So nature of channel or medium which you're selecting for the process of communication is also important in the case of the effectiveness of communication. So I think all of you might have got some familiarity or some knowledge on different media which we are using for communication. Language is a medium for communication. Gestures are a medium of communication. Postures, our body postures are a medium of communication. Our body language is a medium of communication. Our eye movement is a medium of communication. Yes. Then the communicator should be able to select the suitable medium for communication. even if you're selecting a language for communication, you should be able to make use of the correct gestures and body language suitable to the language which you're using there. For example, if you want to tell I'm happy to a person, then you should be able to show happiness on your face. If you want to provide confidence to a person, and if you tell you can do that, then when you tell you can do that, then that confidence should be shown in your body language. So selection of gestures, selection of postures are something important. And if you are using a language for communicating, then you should think about the simplicity of the language. And this simplicity can be changed on the basis of the difference in the case of the receiver. Yes. For example, if you are using some literary words, some words which are related to literature, it will be easy for some people who have got some expertise in literature. So simplicity can be defined on the basis of the nature of the listeners, the receivers. And it's better to use simple words when you indulge in casual talks. And you can make use of some lofty language, some sophisticated language when you're delivering a speech before some academic people, some well-educated people, some people who have got some creativity or some aesthetic sense, or who have got some standard language. And his selection of words also is important, okay? And this is something important because when you select some words, you should think about the nature of the receiver. I told you. Once Dr. Samuel Johnson, one of the greatest writers in English language, told just like this: when I was walking on the banks of the river, my perpendicularity became horizontality. He told, when I was walking on the banks of the river, my perpendicularity became horizontality. Can any one of you give me the simple sentence for that? Yes. Yes, my dear students. What was his intention? Actually, what did he tell? Anyone? He told, when I was walking on the banks of the river, my perpendicularity became horizontality. Yes, anyone? Hanan, can you tell me? Yes, I think you're able to listen here, yes? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, as I'm sharing this PowerPoint presentation, I'm not able to see you, that's the matter.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah, then just tell me. Just,
I don't know, sir. Actually.
yeah. What is this perpendicularity? Anyone from the physical science? Yeah. Horizontality and
something
yeah.
vertical,
Yeah.
vertical.
Yes. When do have perpendicularity? Perpendicularity. When we have vertical status, or when we have vertical physical status.
When we stand, we have a.
Yes. When we stand.
Uh,
When we stand. Okay. Then what is horizontality?
it's when we lay in the ground.
So that means my perpendicularity became horizontality means
You are lying there on the bank of the river.
yes. So that means he just wanted to tell I fell down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of telling this fell down, he was using some lofty language, some literary language. And he told, when I was walking on the banks of the river, my perpendicularity became horizontal. Actually, he wanted to tell, when I was walking on the banks of the river, I fell down. And see, if you're using such a sentence before a common man, what will be his reaction, his response? He'll be shocked. So here comes the selection of words. So when you make use of a language as a medium for your communication, you should think about the capacity of your listener when selecting words and sentences. Yes, that's something important. Then fluency. Then you should be able to speak in a fluent language. Then accuracy. And this accuracy is also important because you should be able to select the accurate or the correct word in different contexts. The word should be correct because different words or the same words may have different meanings in different contexts. So you should be able to select the correct word or the accurate word which is suitable for the particular situation or the context on which you are communicating something to your listener. Then another thing is that you should make use of the correct pronunciation. And when you think about correct pronunciation, it does not mean that you should make use of some Oxford English or you should make use of some pronunciation which is used by Europeans. It does not mean so because we may not be able to use the pronunciation which is used by the Europeans or the native English men. But we should be able to make use of the internationally accepted pronunciation. Yes, you got the idea.
Yeah, I got the idea, but is there any internationally accepted pronunciation for a word? I don't know. I'm not sure
I
about it.
mean, because for example, we have got some Indian standard English. For example, some people just pronounce morning for morning. Yeah,
Yeah, it is same there in North India, sir.
yeah. So sometimes, if the mother tongue, actually the mother tongue influence will be there in our when we speak in a foreign language. This mother tongue influence should be removed. If I tell, actually, if you look at the pronunciation of Sunday, Monday, then if you look at the dictionary, you will see Sunday, Monday. But even if you are not able to tell Sunday, Monday, but you should be able to tell Sunday, Monday. So that is something important. It should not be influenced by your mother tongue. And see, there is the table. Actually, we tell table. The correct pronunciation of table is table. Even if we are not able to tell table, we should be able to tell table. If we tell table, then it will not be understood by Europeans. If we tell table, then they will be able to understand, follow, even if we are not able to tell table. But if you tell table, then they cannot understand. So there is there is an internationally accepted standard English. And I always tell this joke. Actually, this joke was given by Govina sir at Sasset College when I was studying there. When a minister from Kerala went to Bombay for delivering a speech there, and he just used this sentence: when an incident occurs in Kerala, it will be happening. So what is there? He just wanted to tell when an incident occurs in Kerala, it will be happening. This sort of English sentences or pronunciation or usage should not be there. No, when we select a language, we should know the correct pronunciation, correct usage in that particular language. And if we are not able to make use of these characteristics when we are selecting the medium for communicating in a particular language, our communication will be a failure or it will not be effective. Yes, got it? I think you got that, yes?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is something important. Whenever you are going to communicate something in a particular language, then you should think about the selection of medium or channel. The nature of channel or medium will be affecting your communication process. Now let me move to some features related to some other element of communication, that is nature of the signal or message. There are different types of messages, like facts, such as historical facts, personal experience, stories, scientific theories, philosophies, current affairs, etc. So how can you thus select a message, a type of message? Is how can you select a particular type of message?
It is contextual.
Yeah, on the basis
Context
of the context, then sometimes on the basis of the nature of the receiver. For example, if you're delivering a speech on research, then you may have to make use of facts. If you're presenting a report, a research report, actually you cannot tell some stories. You have to produce some statistical reports, some facts, some factors, yeah, some scientific points. And when you are delivering a speech on Independence Day or Republic Day, then you have to give some historical facts, some stories. Yeah. Yes. Then when you talk about something like humanity and such things, then you can share your personal experience. If you are teaching something related to sociology or values or something like that in your classroom, then you can make use of personal experiences. You can make use of stories. And when you're teaching some principles, then you should use scientific aspects. So on the basis of the context, you may have to change the type of message. At the same time, you should think about the nature of the receiver. If you're traveling by a train, you happen to meet a co-passenger there, and you want to speak to that person, and you start talking something about politics, and you happen to see that the person is not interested in politics, Then if you go on speaking something about politics, it will be irritating that person and the communication process will be a failure. So on the basis of the context, you have to select a message, the type of message. And if you are not able to select the type of message on the basis of the context, then your communication will be a failure. I have got a personal experience. Actually, whenever I teach in my classroom, I will teach by telling some stories, and I will be explaining each and every point. I do not know how to handle a class with some objective type points. And when our institution started giving some set coaching class and catered coaching classes to our students, I also was assigned a class. And after the class, I felt that the class was an utter failure because it was the first time I handled the class only by giving some questions and answers. And at times, my class just deviated from the style of class which I had to use for handling an examination coaching class. So this is important. You should be able to select the style of presentation or select the messages or select the content on the basis of the context, on the basis of the receivers. Otherwise, sometimes the communications process may become a failure. Yeah, right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Then now we can tell something which is related to the last element of communication, that is nature of the receiver or the listener. Nature of the receiver means age level, attitude, linguistic capacity, philosophy, the relationship with the communicator, contextual difference, etc. As I told yesterday, you cannot talk to a school student just like you're talking to a college student. Teaching in a school is different from teaching in a college. I have experienced the difference. Actually, I was interested in in handling demonstration classes before B.Ed students, just after completing my B.Ed course. But nowadays, I'm not confident because I started teaching college students. Now, I have been teaching college students for more than 11 or 12 years. So I have got the confidence to teach the school students, because when we teach the school students, we should go to their level. We should be able to use their language. So you have to think about the age level of the receiver when you communicate. And again, you have to think about the attitude. You have to think about their interest. See, when you are becoming teachers, you may have to use some examples. Then if you're not able to use the examples from by looking at the interest of the students, the communication will be a failure. You may have got some other interest. Okay, your interest may be politics, your interest may be philosophy, but the students may have interest in sports and games. Then if you're not able to select some examples from sports and games, and if you're using some examples from your interest, that is politics and philosophy, the listeners, the students may not be interested. And if there is no interest, if there is no positive attitude, if there is no interest, or if there is no positive attitude towards your communication from the listener, again the communication will become a failure. So you should think about the age level of the listeners. You should think about the attitude of the receiver. You should think about the linguistic capacity. You might have got a standard language. But my dear students, see, communication is not for showing your expertise in language. If you make your communication just for showing expertise, your capacity, your skill in a language, the receiver will not be catching anything. As we told earlier, Johnson told, when I was walking on the banks of the river, my perpendicularity became horizontality. If you use such a sentence before a common man, you cannot communicate anything. Then philosophy. You might have got some life philosophy, but when you communicate with a person, you should also consider the philosophy of that person. You should not insult his views. Yes, you can object, okay? You can object, or you can tell your philosophy, and you can tell that you are against his philosophy, but you cannot blame his philosophy. So it will be creating disinterest in your receiver. Then he or she will not be ready to listen with his heart when you speak something. So you should think about his views, the philosophy of your receiver, then the relationship with the communicator. And this is also something important. Yes, I think you can use some jokes and funs if you're talking with your friend, but you cannot use such. You may not be able to use such funs and jokes when you are speaking with your principal, or when you are communicating with a stranger, or when you are communicating with an elder man. So your relationship is also important, and this is, if you are able to create a lovely relationship, a friendly relationship with your students, then you can communicate with them in a natural manner. So this relationship between the communicator and the receiver also is something important. Then contextual difference we have already taught. So these are some factors which help us make our communication more effective, more interesting, more attractive. What that is? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so now I think we have to move to our mother tongue. Okay. Before that, I may just stop recording, then I may start again recording a new one. Okay. Thank you.